Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of season 2. This episode is called Poetic Justice, the Rose That Grew from Concrete. Now, the reason behind the title and the subject matter is that it's mainly an overview. It's an overview of the podcast as a whole and with season 2. And I'm really excited to talk about my findings and what I've found over the last year of being a podcaster and the challenges and what I'm doing going forward in life now and my future and what it holds. So thank you for coming through today to watch my episode. Now, it's been a year now. It's actually been a year and I'm really excited about it. That it's the anniversary of when I started the podcast, which is a beautiful thing. Now, being a podcaster and doing this podcast, I have found that I've had a lot of challenges, a lot of negativity set my way, and a lot of positivity as well. So I'm really grateful for what I did it and why I did it. But I found that, I got through all the worst parts of, you would say, starting a business, because I do take this serious. It is something I'm really passionate about. It's something that I love to do. So, and I know it's really difficult within the first year of running a business that it's so easy to give up on something. And it's just not something I do. It's not something in my nature. I never really give up on anything. And when I initially started the podcast, it came from an epiphany. If you guys have watched my episodes, there was an episode back in season 1. It was for my mother. And that was episode 7 in season 1, which was the last goodbye. And that was the journey I took to Transylvania when I took my mother's ashes on her final resting place. And that journey and what I found spending time on my own, what it is that I wanted to get out of my life and what I wanted to do in life. And what I wanted to do was get my story out there and talk about what I've been through as an individual, not just as a man, but just as an adult, and the struggles that I've gone through. And there was a lot of negativity behind season 1, mainly down to the fact that my initial reasoning behind doing podcasting is that I wanted to share my vulnerabilities. I wanted to discuss the issues that I've been through as an individual. So if you could reach out to one certain individual or multiple people that are going through day-to-day struggles with loss and finding love and trying to just get through life in general, then me expressing how I feel would maybe help somebody. But in turn, it was my therapy. It was my own in-house therapy session, you could call it. Now, with season 1, that's what it was all about. It was all about me expressing certain struggles that I've been through as an individual. And that might have bored a few people, and that might have came across that every episode was morbid. Every episode was talking about death and everything else. But the way I look at it is, what happened to me and to my family and to a lot of people out there, when you lose somebody, it changes you as an individual, and either for the better or for the worse. And for me, it was a struggle, and it doesn't get any easier. It's a day-to-day struggle getting through life anyway, just in general. But when you lose someone so close to you, it flips your whole life upside down. And that, to me, was always a struggle for me. And it was always trying to juggle life, trying to be a parent, trying to go to work every day, trying to build relationships, friendships, and try and keep your life on the straight and narrow. And the problem is, I believe a lot of us struggle with mental health, and a lot of us have our issues. And a lot of people will see mental health as being a sign of weakness, that they see it as that you're weak, that you don't know how to deal with life, and that you weren't brought up correctly, and and there's something wrong with you. And that's a really bad negative impact on people's lives. And people need to understand that certain things will happen in your life, and it's how you deal with it. You know, that's how we're judged on, and that's how you get on in life, is how you could say, like, you're challenged with a certain issue, and how you fix that and how you move forward from it defines you as an individual, and it gives you that strength, and it gives you that power to move on and go further in life. But it also is there as a reminder that you are human, and we all go through these struggles. And what it can do in turn can help another individual, even through conversation, what you write down, what you do in life, you can help others. And that's what my life has always been about. So when I started the podcast, it was difficult. Certain subject matter, it was difficult to bring back up again, because I learned to put a lot of that in the back burn. And I never really brought it back out again, because I felt I was okay. But what somebody really close to me, somebody I love, highlighted to me, that I'm not fully healed. I've still got ongoing demons that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. And that's fine, because it's good. It's good to be told that, because then you realize, wait a minute, I thought I was okay, but obviously I'm not. And I'm not shy to say it. You know, I'm not perfect in any which way or form, but I am who I am. And some may say that I do okay and that I seem okay, but, you know, deep down, I have a lot of underlying issues that I still need to deal with. And over the next couple of months, I'm going to go through some EMDR therapy. I'm going to go on a lot of a bit of a spiritual awakening, really. And with this podcast, I've really enjoyed it. And how it came across was my ex-boss. She was speaking to me one day, and she was saying that she really enjoyed the videos that I was doing when I was in Transylvania. And have I ever thought about doing podcasting? And it was something that was always in the background. And I'm always a fan of podcasts and what they're all about, and trying to make some sort of difference in people's lives, or educate people, or just even talk about all the other shit in between. And with me, it kind of resonated with me, and it was something that I wanted to do. And a lot of people say that I've got like a calming voice, and I can be very clear. I've done better. There's not as many ums. If you watch season 1, there's so many ums, but I think I've got better, and a lot more confident in front of the camera. And that is a bit daunting, especially the amount of views that I'm getting now. It is kind of daunting that it's gone all around the world, and it doesn't scare me. It excites me. It gives me that passion. So I started the podcast, and yeah, going back to the original episodes, I think I was kind of stereotyped. So a lot of my friends and family that don't support me, and that's fine. That's their choice. At the end of the day, I'm not going to push anybody. At the end of the day, you know, I'm not thinking you're missing out on anything. You're living your life, and I'm eternally happy for that. And I want people to do that. But when you do a podcast, or you do anything that is kind of measured on views and likes, it is a bit difficult when you're not getting that. And it's easy for somebody on the outside looking in going, Sean, that's not important. But it is in this nature of business, because you need to have views for YouTube to push your content out there. And that's been a struggle. You know, I had about 1,000 views over the first 8 months, and, you know, it was never really about getting that. But you know, I'm not going to lie to you, it is a part of it. And it's not about validation for me. It's more about reaching out to the masses and making some sort of difference in life, either it be for myself or for others. And over the last couple of months, it's gone crazy. I found a way of tapping into different markets within the YouTube algorithms, and it's now huge in Indonesia, India, America, Brazil, you know. And you'd never think for a second that I would be not a household name, but I would be somebody that's been watched 10,000 on average, you know, over the last few weeks, anything between 5,000 and 10,000 views an evening. And it's daunting, scary, but also really exciting. So thank you to all my new viewers and people that support me on my podcast. And somebody, again, that is very dear in my life said to me, Sean, it's never about your friends and family that are going to support you. You're going to be surprised. It's going to be individuals that are going to be strangers that are going to be the ones that actually support you. They're going to be the ones that push your podcast out there. They're going to share it. They're going to send it out to their friends and family. And it has. And a lot of people have reached out to me from different countries. And it's such a beautiful thing. Even when they just put a comment, like a cold face, like an emoji, to say that something I've said, like in the parenthood episode, which is my highest viewed episode, they said to me, that was cold. But I don't see that as being a negative thing. It's a good thing, because at the end of the day, this is my views, and this is what I get out of it. And that episode's blowing up. It's crazy. I think I'm on 90,000 on one episode alone. And it's mainly to do with parenthood, because that's obviously a big subject matter that people deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I'm eternally grateful. So thank you to everyone. Now, when I started doing the podcast, I didn't really think how it was going to be portrayed or how it was going to be viewed. But a lot of people have reached out to me, and a lot of people have said to me, Sean, that you've helped me through certain moments in my life that I thought that I was all alone, and it definitely helped. And that to me is powerful in its own way. And yeah, it could be some sort of validation, but you get that kind of feeling that you're doing something right. And a lot of us do that. And a lot of people say, but validation is not important. But you as a parent, for instance, right? You make dinner and you do, this is probably a stupid analogy, but when you do dinner for your family every single day, and every single day you've got to come up with a new menu. You've got to try and spice it up. You've got to try and do something different so they don't get bored. And you're trying to please your family members, and you make that dinner. And after the dinner's finished, your kids turn around and say, Dad or Mum, that was beautiful. I love that. We need to do that more. That's some sort of validation. That makes you feel good within yourself that you've done something different, and your kids love it. No, I don't see that as being a negative thing. I think that's a positive thing, right? Because then you know you've done something right. Your kids love it. They've had your nutrients. They've had their dinner, and they're left happy and full or fulfilled. And that, to me, is what I do with the podcast. I want to feed people information, stuff that I've studied on, something I've worked on, something, it's like my baby, something I'm proud of. And for somebody to come back and say, Sean, that was an amazing episode. I really enjoyed it. The subject matter is something that I'm currently going through, and I generally thought I was on my own. So it was really good. And with the episodes, I've found over time, they've got better. And this episode is straight off the dome. So yeah, hopefully it makes some sort of sense. I'm just basically talking. And season 2 was more scripted because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to see how it would be portrayed. I wanted to do something different. And with season 3 coming out in the next couple of months, I'm going to do a lot of outdoor work because it's going to be in the summer. I've already bought the microphones that clip onto your chest. I'm going to look at different technology that I can use for, when I'm doing my walks around in nature, that I'm going to be doing my podcast out and about and being there. And with the other charity work that I'm doing and contemplating doing Snowdon again, I want to make sure that I have the right equipment this time when I'm doing something like climbing the mountain and stuff like that. Yeah, the episodes are blowing up. It's crazy. It's something that, I speak to my bestie. I speak to her on a daily basis, and every night I'll say to her, look, it's crazy. The episodes are going crazy at the moment, and she's like super proud of me, and it's a nice feeling. It really is. But I can't believe how it's gone, and I'm really, really grateful for everything that everybody does for me in that sense, and the people that are still supporting me from day one. So thank you. Now, what I found with season 1, yeah, it was difficult. Like I said to you, certain subject matter, it was difficult to bring back up again and talk about again, but it needed to be said. People need to understand the person that I am. They need to understand the character that I am. Now, I've been through loss, and I don't want to shy away from it because that's who I am. That's what's made me the person I am today, through the loss of my mother, my brother, my nan, my best friend, Davey. I know I'm not the only person that's gone through that, but I can only say from my point of view, certain things have happened, the breakdown of my marriage. Certain people might not know this, but I got made redundant, and I've been with the company now for 12 years. And I got made redundant, and I left my job coming up to 2 weeks now. Well, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow since I left my job. So currently at work. So there's a lot of things going on in my life that defines me as an individual, and what I need to do to make my life better moving forward. So what the podcast has done to me, it's given me an outlet. It's given me a voice. It's letting me express how I'm feeling over certain subjects. Now, with season 1, there was a lot, and it was a lot about me. I know that. And a lot of people saw that as a massive negative. And then I lost viewers. I lost friends through it. I lost family members through it, in that sense that they don't support me. And that's fine. Like I said to you, it's not a massive issue. Everyone to their own. But I want to express that season 2 was totally different. I went for a totally different way. And the reason I did season 2 the way I did it was because I'm writing a book, and I've written the book now, and the book is completed. I've just got to finish the manuscript and put it together, and then get it published over the next few months. I don't want to put a date on it because I don't want to put unnecessary pressure on myself to get it out, but it will be out before my birthday. So my birthday is on September the 1st, and it's a big birthday. And for me, I want to get the book out before then. And if I sell 1 copy, then I'm a published author. And that's always been something that I've always wanted to do. I've had poetry that's been published when I was younger, and I used to write music. So I used to send a lot of my music through to EMI, and they would take on the music and what have you. And I did that growing up. And then I stopped it for many years. After my best friend died, it changed my whole outlook with life, and I changed. I went a certain path that I went on from that, and then I'm back. And then a certain individual that's in my life has opened the equilibrium part of my brain. It's kind of opened up that poetic person that I am now, and I'm writing poetry most days. I'm working on my podcast all the time now. It's giving me that kind of oomph, so I thank you. Massive love, trust me. And I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep doing it. And yeah, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Certain podcasts that I see, I'll go, nah, that guy irritates me. So I'll probably get the same. It is what it is. So yeah, getting back to the episodes. Now, with episode 2, yes, it was scripted. It was different. And there was a lot of not looking into the camera, because it is difficult when you've got a lot of cue cards that are on the monitor. I don't necessarily have the right equipment as of yet, because I'm still learning. Once I've got all the right equipment, I'll be able to move stuff around. I'll be able to do certain things. And that will move forward, because I think each season I've taken it to a different level when it comes to the podcast. So hopefully soon it will be different, and it will keep stepping up, right? There's no point doing something if you're not going to progress. Progression is important in life. Change is important. So I do certain things, and I want it to be better than the last one. Like a movie, you want the sequel to be better than the first, or equally. So what I'm trying to do is trying to progress. So it's been a year. So happy that I never gave up on it. I think I was going to give up after episode 2, to be honest with you. Episode 2 killed me in season 1, and episode 3, I kind of let loose a little bit when I was in Greece, and I felt that I was done. And then it went on, and now I've got like 21, 22 episodes that are currently have been done now. Like I said to you, I'm on 122, I believe. What's it sitting on now? I'm sitting on just over 120,000 views, which is crazy. It's madness. I tell you, madness. So thank you. And my favorite episodes, I think, it didn't get much play, to be honest with you. But in season 1, probably my favorite episode was the technology episode. That episode shone a light on the way we're completely addicted to technology, either it be our phones, our tablets, our TVs. It's crazy. And I did tap into the thing that I find with parents and new age parents nowadays, that throwing technology at kids because they're busy is okay. I'm not shooting it down. Everyone to their own. You parent your kids the way you would like to, but I always find that what actually happens is it actually affects our kids, and it affects their sociable aspect. It changes them as individuals at a young age, that they depend on certain things and they become over dependent on this technology the same way we are. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't, because I'm glued to my phone as well. So I'm not sitting here saying that everyone's wrong and I'm right. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, I do look around pubs nowadays, or when I'm in a bar, or when I'm out and about, and even in parks nowadays, you look around and kids are glued to their phones and their tablets, and certain kids can't have their breakfast unless their tablet's been given to them. And because you're so tired and you're so withdrawn from life, and you're having your own mental health issues or your own problems, or your difficulties, giving them their tablets the easiest solution, so you can get on and do your house cleaning and what have you. And I get that, everyone to their own. But what actually happens is, when they don't have that tablet, they kick up a stink, they lose their temper, they change as individuals. And you can imagine that as life goes on, when they get to their 20s, 30s, if they don't get their way and they don't get what they've always pushed for, then they're going to struggle with life. They're going to struggle with social aspect, or talking to individuals, being around individuals, because they're so stuck with the screen that they're not out and about and they're not doing what they need to be doing. So technology for me was really important. And also with relationships, I always find that relationships, couples, when they're sitting down at night, they're glued to the telly, they're both on their phones. And yeah, everyone to their own, and certain individuals will have their phone as their business. So that's fine. But I'm saying the other individuals stuck staring at the screen of their phones, they're not socializing, they're not communicating, they're not conversating in a certain point. So that kind of affects relationships now as well. So technology is a major part of our lives, and pros and cons. But that episode to me was one of the best episodes that I've done, but it was probably the less viewed episode that was there, because it wasn't like death, and it wasn't love and sex, and it wasn't like a big name title. It was just technology. And there wasn't many episodes. I don't know how many views there was. How many views was there? 22. And I'm not shooting that down. 22 it is what it is. Compared to Parenthood, which is on that 92,000 now. So that was a bit of a shame, because I felt that episode was really, really good, and it was one of my favorites from last year. Now, this year, I felt every episode it was like life coaching, and it was certain subject matter that I feel is really important in people's lives every day, either it being parenting, sex, but I never spoke about actual sex. It was brought up, but it was never really about the physical intimacy part of, or intimate parts of a relationship. It was about the importance of emotional intelligence, intimacy on a platonic level, but also communication, touch, just being there for each other. That's what sex was about. And sex is, a wide word as such. It's not just the physical act, it's everything else surrounding sex as a whole. And I thought that was really important. So I felt that each episode did it. And I like to throw a little bit in there, like the upside down, because I'm a big Stranger Things fan. So I wanted to throw that in there. One of my favorite films are Back to the Future, because I love time travel, and I love the element of the chance of being able to go back and change something in your past, or to go into the future and make changes there, or to see where you are in life. So that I wanted to throw little curveballs in there, through 50 Cent in there as well, with Hustler's Ambition, Get Rich or Die Trying, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I wanted to put them in there, not to try and use keywords to try and get it, but it was just down to the fact that this is certain parts of me. And each episode of season 2 represented a chapter in my book. Now, the book is going to be called Lost Love and all the other shit in between, but it's going to be called Volume 1. And you can go, oh my God, that is boring. But volume represents the volume podcast, the volume of my voice, the volume of who I am in my life, the importance of turning the volume up. So there's certain plays on that word when I say volume, and obviously it's going to be like a dial to say volume 1. And I'd like to do 3 books in the chapter. I'd like to do volume 1, 2, and 3. Boring, but that's what I want to do. And what I've done with each episode, I've wrote poetry. So I will be doing some poetry at the end of this podcast. Rather than do my usual affirmation and my Sean talk, I'm going to call it Carlos's Poetic Pit Stop. All right. And people are going to say, Carlos, what do you mean Carlos? I mean, what is that name? Whose name is that? Well, it's actually mine. Carlos is actually my name. And it was a name that was given to me at birth, but then it was changed, and then it was changed to Sean. So yes, you know me as Sean, but my mum wanted to call me Carlos. And so it then became my middle name, but it's always a name that's followed me through my life. And certain individuals use it now quite frequently, and I'm fine with it. It's not an insult. To me, Carlos is a beautiful name. And for me, it's not a name that's usually out there unless you're Mexican or probably say Puerto Rican, or, I don't really know the original, originality or where it originates fully from. But for me, it's a beautiful name, and I'm not shy away from it. I'm not embarrassed by it. People used to mock me at school when they found out that my name was Carlos. A lot of people used to mock me and stuff like that and belittle me and laugh at me. But, yeah, okay, good one. Good job. But no, it's, it is what it is. But I'm proud of my name and proud of the names that my mum gave me. So yeah, I'm going to call it Carlos's Poetic Pit Stop. And so I've got some poetry I want to read to you. And that's from the book. And then I've got the end one, which is a poem that I wrote, which is just expressing the journey that I've been on with loss, love, and all the other shit in between. So I've done a poem to end this podcast with. But yeah, so over the episodes, I've really enjoyed season 2. I felt it a lot less pressured. I think when I do an episode like today's episode, I'm doing it directly out of my head. And the whole time I'm doing the podcast, the way it works is my head, because I'm an overthinker, I'm continuously thinking at the same time while I'm talking. And then I'm starting to think, am I going to make sense? Is this going to work? Is it going to be belittled? Is it going to be mocked? Is it going to make no sense at all? And yeah, yeah, it is what it is. But with the scripted ones, they were easy, but it might have been seen that I wasn't really looking at the camera. I wasn't talking to my viewers. But the truth of the matter is, you watch a lot of podcasters, and a lot of podcasts, especially solo podcasters, when they do their podcast, a lot of the time they don't even look towards the screen. I've seen podcasters sit like this, and they talk this way, but the camera's there and it's looking this way, and what they're doing is they're talking this way. That to me wouldn't work. It'd be kind of weird for me, but I thought I would do it for a couple of seconds. So you talk in a certain way, and yeah, you probably have boards and you have key words up on the back wall, and you can maybe look at it that way and what have you. But I like to look forward. So season 2 had its difficulties as well. Yeah, it generally was. But I felt I had more time to work on the subject matter. I felt I was able to study it more. There's no point talking something if you don't believe what you're writing down. You don't believe in what you're studying. You don't believe in what you get out of it. So for me, the subject matter was something I was really passionate about it. So live like it matters is important to me. So each chapter represented something that I need to put into my day-to-day life. So when I put it into the book and I read the book, I want to read that book and start putting that certain practice into my own life. Because I'm not going to sit here and dictate to you that I know everything, because I don't. And I'm honest with you, I'm learning things every day. We do as adults and as human beings, that you learn something new every day. And if you're not, then, oh my God, get yourself out there. There's so much knowledge and there's so much wisdom out there. And there's so many people that you can talk to, especially old people. I love old people. And I don't know if I'm being derivative or what have you towards old people, but they're experienced. They've got stories. They've been around the block. To hear stories from them is great. And that's why I want to maybe do some work within season 3 and work with the older generation and have discussions with them, and maybe bring the podcast to the old people's home where I live in Oxford, and take it to them and just ask them if there's certain individuals that want to tell their story, and have discussions with older generation of people. That might even be season 4, that I do that. I spoke to my close friend, Jack, that I love dearly like a brother. And I discussed with him that if he'd be interested, that we do maybe a couple of episodes about pop culture and things that we're passionate about. Because he's a collector. I used to be a collector. I'm not so much a collector now. I'm more of a collector of stories and poetry now than I am my collectibles and the high value collectibles that I look for and go to conventions and everything else that I used to do. I haven't done it for a long, long time. So I want to get back into that as well. So I spoke to him and we're looking at maybe doing an episode in season 3 together, which is something exciting for me to have my best bud on here. And you will then see the kind of relationship that we've got, the way we bounce off each other with communication and the way we talk. And he's very much like me. And you're thinking, oh my God, bless him. But no, he is very much like me, that certain things that he's going through his life over the last few years, I've been through, and vice versa. Certain things that I was going through, he's been through. So we kind of, you could say like on a spiritual kind of connection between me and Jack, that we have that connection where we see each other and each other as such. And so, yeah, I've enjoyed this process. I've enjoyed doing what I do. And it gives me some sort of purpose, because I think you have to have some sort of purpose in life. If you just live the very dreary, getting up, going to work, coming home, doing dinner, cleaning the house, it can be very dreary and very draining of you as an individual. And then you don't feel worthy. You don't feel like you are appreciated. You lose that kind of love for life. So you got to have something outside family life to keep yourself busy, because mentally it can affect you. So either be a business, either be a podcast, either be writing stories, sport, playing five-a-side. You need to have something outside your life, right? So with me this evening, when this comes out, I'm going to the European semi-final for Aston Villa, which is one of my biggest passions. And I'm going to the game this evening. So I'll be going in the next couple of hours. So hopefully I can get this podcast out and about. And then I'm going to go to the semis. So I hope and pray that we get the result that we need to get to the final. And that's one of my passions that I love. And that's never going to change. I'm very passionate about my team. And it's something that I love. It's something that I'm really excited and obsessed with. And it does consume me, but, it's a passion. I love it. I'm never going to stop doing that. But the podcast, yeah, it's absolutely enjoy it. And yeah, I can go through weeks where I don't release an episode. Nobody's really chasing me down and saying, where's my episode? And that's fine, because sometimes you need a little bit longer to get it and to get that right work out there. I mean, there's no point doing it, like I always say, have cops. You might as well go full whack, and make sure it's 100% correct. So today's episode, yeah, it's a bit all over the place, but at the end of the day, it's just me expressing the love that I have for the podcast and what I've done over the last year and what I'm doing moving forward. So yes, the book's going to be coming out over the next few months, hopefully going to get it published. And yeah, I'm going to be proud of that part of my job and my work. And then I'm going to take a few months off from the podcast, because I need to work on the subject matter and what I'm going to be doing in season 3. And then I've got to look for a new job. over the next month or so, and that for me is really important because it's the next step, the next chapter in my life. And if I'm going to get to with the life that I want to get to, then it has to be the right job. It has to be the right profession. I'm not going to go down the same route that I've always done, either it being when I was living in South Africa, or when I was working in Amsterdam, or when I was working in Germany, or, working in London. I've worked exports, importing, exports, logistics, distribution. I've worked in retail. I've sold windows. I've worked in restaurants. Yeah, I've done so many different things in my life, but nothing's really added any value other than working in cinema when I left college. When I worked to the point, and that was probably one of my favorite jobs of all time because, I love movies. So to be in and around movies every day was an exciting thing for me. So it might be something else that I go back to, but I just feel, that's a step back. I want to go step forward. So I need to find something that I'm passionate about, and I'm going to work hard on it. And anybody that takes me on board, they're going to get a committed individual that never gives up, doesn't see issues as problems. He sees them as challenges. I'm very analytical. I'm very much into data, and I'm very much into pulling information from that, coming up with processes, projects to make things better for everybody concerned, making money, bringing down costs, increasing profits, because that's what a lot of businesses are into at the end of the day. And that's what I want to do for my next chapter in my life, or the next chapter of the book. So, yeah, so thank you for listening today. It was just a little bit of a hello, and just wanting to say thank you. And the reason it was called The Rose That Grew from Concrete, the Rose That Grew from Concrete was a poetic book of poetry written by Tupac Amaru Shakur, which is one of my favorite artists of all time. God rest his soul. And that book meant a lot to me because my mum gave it to me. It's one of the first. I mean, obviously I read poetry growing up. I did my own poetry, so I read poetry mainly at school. But my first poetry book that was given was from my mother, and she gave me Tupac's poetry, and I loved the book. I loved what he was going through and the struggles that he was going through, and the way he put it down onto paper. And it was so messy, and it was handwritten, and it was all over the place. It was like when Eminem writes his music. If you see his notes, what he does, because of the way his brain works with ADHD and everything else, he's got it everywhere. But he knows where it is, and it's like organized chaos or disorganized chaos, but it is organized because that's just the way his brain flows. So absolute genius. So Tupac was also the GOAT, and he was like one of the geniuses of hip hop and rap music of all time. Definitely in my top 5 of all time for sure. Eminem, and then everyone else. But for me, his poetry spoke to me, and the fact that my mum wrote in the book as well. I need to find it. I really wanted to get the book out, but it's in my property somewhere. But my mum wrote in that book. She wrote a really nice, beautiful note to me. And I think it was when I was living in South Africa at the time, and my mum found the book when it got released to general public, and my mum wrote in that book, and she sent it to me in South Africa. And it was at a point that I really needed it. And, I'll always be eternally grateful to my beautiful, beautiful mum. And when I was doing the poetry and wanting to do the overview of the podcast, what I wanted to do was talk about that book and what it actually relayed to me and what the reasoning behind it. So it is Poetic Justice. So it's a play on words. Poetic Justice was a movie with Tupac Shakur and Janet Jackson and Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest. And that was an amazing film as well. Love it, love it, love it. And so it was a play on words. It was Tupac, Poetic Justice, and his poetry book. So basically, this is a book that was given to me as a gift. One of the most generous and loving gifts that I've ever been given. And you can say, Sean, it's just a book. It's nothing, but it's the meaning behind it and what that tree of life represents for me. And the birds coming away from the tree. Now, that's a tattoo that I got done. My cousin did the tattoo for me. God rest his soul. He did the tattoo for me. And there's meaning behind that. So I'll show you. So this tattoo that I've got on my wrist and what it represents, okay? Now, the bottom half here is Celtic for family. And I come up with the idea that family and tree. And the two birds that are flying away from the tree, if I can get my angle right with the camera, these two birds are my beautiful mother, and this way, my little brother. And what not many people know, but each seedling that's on this tree represents my nephews and my nieces and my siblings. And I didn't ask for a certain number. The numbers were giving out, and the two numbers represent the two most important numbers in my life, my two kids. And this represents family, okay, and what it means to me. And when this book was given over to me as a gift, there was meaning behind it. And I don't think they even thought that for a second. And it might be seen as something less in value than anything I may have gave or whatever. It's never about that. It's the meaning behind that and what it represented as a gift. And it's such a beautiful gift. And this is where I write down all my poetry and how I'm feeling and what I'm doing with the podcast. And it's like, you could say like my little memoirs. So I've wrote quite a lot over the last few months. So I wanted to share some of the poetry, or if I say it quick enough, I could probably go through quite a lot of them, to be honest with you. They're not massive poems, but they just represent each chapter that I went through doing this podcast. So yeah, and then I'm going to end it with the new poem that I wrote last week. I think it was last week or the week before. And that is going to explain to you the journey that I've been on with the podcast and in my life in general. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this. So this is Carlos's Poetic Pit Stop. All right. So the first one is Live Like It Matters. Now we'll be looking down a little bit, so I do apologize. But you know, you're going to listen to it. All right. So a lot of people listen to this podcast. They don't necessarily watch it in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful face of mine. But you know, everyone to their own. Okay. So thank you. And this is some of my poetry. I hope you enjoy it. Live like it matters, because it does. Not tomorrow, not one day, not when things are easier, but here, in this breath, in this moment you're standing in. Say the thing your heart keeps rehearsing in silence. Take the risk that scares you because it means something. Love without keeping score. Forgive without waiting for an apology. Live like your time is sacred, because it is. Stop shrinking to make rooms more comfortable. Stop surviving days you were meant to inhabit. Feel it all, the joy, the grief, the mess in between. None of it is wasted. Every scar is proof you stayed. Every tear means you cared enough to feel. Choose presence over perfection, truth over approval, depth over distraction. And when the world tries to rush you past yourself, stand still. Remember who you are. Remember why you're here. Live like it matters, because your life isn't a rehearsal, and the world is changed by the courage of people who live like they know that. Number 2 was about returning to self-love and real love at 40. At 40, love doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't kick the door in or beg to be chosen. It sits down beside you, asks how long you've been tired, and actually waits for the answer. This is not the love that burns everything down. It's the love that knows the cost of fire and chooses warmth instead. The kid that doesn't confuse chaos with passion or absence with mystery. At 40, you stop auditioning, you stop proving, you stop mistaking intensity for intimacy. You come home to yourself first and only then invite real love. And let somebody in. Real love doesn't chase, it recognizes. It doesn't complete you, it meets you whole, eye to eye. This love speaks in consistency, in peace that doesn't feel boring, in laughter that doesn't need alcohol to be brave. It shows up on ordinary days and stays when nothing impressive is happening. Return to love at 40 is forgiving the version of you that didn't know better. It's thanking the heartbreak for sharpening your truth. This is love without masks, without games, without fear of being seen. This is real love, steady, honest, earned. Not the love you dreamed of at 20, but the one you finally understand was worth waiting for. The chapter 3, that was sink or swim, and that's turning pain into power. There comes a moment when the water closes in, when standing still means sinking and going under feels inevitable. No rescue boats, no applause, just you and the weight of what hurt. Pain doesn't ask permission, it arrives heavy, uninvited, pressing on your chest until breathing becomes a choice. You can sink, carry the stories that broke you, let the past pull you under, let the silence convince you this is the end. Or you can swim, not gracefully, not confidently, but desperately at first, with shaking arms and burning lungs, learning strength the hard way. Swimming looks like staying when walking away would be easier. It looks like turning scars into structure, loss into language, survival into purpose. The water doesn't get calmer, you get stronger. Pain doesn't disappear, it transforms what once tried to drown you, becomes the current that carries you forward. Sink or swim was never about the water, it was about who you become inside it. And one day you realize you didn't just survive the depth, you learn how to move through it. That's power. Chapter 4, All I Do Is Win, which was the winner's mentality, which I love that episode, I really do. I really loved that episode when I put that together, and the certain words that I put in there kind of portrayed what I want to do in my life to become a winner. And, you know, we all want to win something, right? And if that is winning in life, winning in love, winning a competition, whatever it is, you know, we strive to be winners. You know, we don't really want to be a loser, do we? We want to win. And it's not about the winning, it's the taking part. But, you know, life is taking part. So why not win? You know, winning isn't noise. It isn't flexing for rooms that don't know your name. It's showing up when no one's watching, keeping promises you made to yourself. A winner doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They move in uncertainty, built in silence, and learn faster than they can complain. Loss doesn't disqualify them, it educates them. Failure isn't an ending, it's data. The winner's mentality isn't arrogance, it's discipline. It's choosing progress over excuses, purpose over comfort, growth over approval. They don't need to beat you. They need to beat who they were yesterday. Every day is a quiet negotiation between comfort and commitment, and winners choose commitment. They rest without guilt. They grind without burning out. They walk away from distractions that cost too much for their future. All I do is win, because quitting isn't an option, and consistency compounds long after motivation fades. This isn't about trophies, it's about standards, about becoming someone your younger self would recognize as unstoppable. That's the win. Now that was a good one. Chapter 5, Living in Multiple Realities, the little play on Stranger Things. I live in two realities at the same time. One is the life I show the world, present, capable, moving forward. The other is the life that shaped me, quiet, watchful, carrying what I've learned. They don't cancel each other out, they coexist. I can be safe and still notice danger. I can love and still protect myself. I can move forward and still feel what came before me. This isn't weakness, it's life with awareness. Healing didn't erase the past, it gave me the strength to stand fully in the present without denying what I carry. I don't need to be simpler to be whole. I don't need to hide to be strong. Living in multiple realities is not a burden, It's proof that I survived, that I learned, that I'm capable of holding all of myself and still moving forward. I hold both realities. I carry my past and stand in my present. I move forward without leaving myself behind. And in this, I am unstoppable. You don't believe how much talking it really does your throat in. You could probably say, Shoma, why are you not, why are you not croaking like a frog? This is one for Judgment Day. Judgment Day, the quiet one. Judgment Day didn't arrive with sirens or smoke. It arrived while we were scrolling, half listening, half loving, half alive. It came softly between a notification and a missed moment, between a body beside us and a mind somewhere else. No machines rose, no cities fell. We simply stopped noticing what was right in front of us. A partner's silence, a touch that asked to be felt, a child waiting to be seen instead of pacified. We traded presence for convenience and called it normal. We called it busy, we called it life, but sometimes humans kept tapping on the glass. Love doesn't survive on leftovers. Desire doesn't grow in distraction, and attention, once fractured, takes honesty to reclaim. Judgment Day is the moment you realize nothing external stole your life. You gave it away, one chosen habit at a time. And power returns the second you notice. When you put the phone down and look properly, when you listen without planning your reply, when you touch with intention instead of routine, when you choose closeness over comfort, truth over autopilot, presence over noise. This isn't about rejecting the world. It's about remembering you still belong to it. Your mind, your body, your relationships, your moments. This is the quiet uprising. No speeches, no slogans, just humans choosing to be here while they still can. Judgment Day isn't coming. It's already here. And for the first time in a long time, you get to decide what happens next. Also a good one. Big head. But no, that was a good one. Chapter 7. When love isn't the issue. Sex is not always about love. It's about hunger, longing, need, the way your body remembers what your heart forgets, the spark that survives even when connection fades. It's not about promises or vows or why. It's about presence, the electricity that doesn't wait for permission, the ache that refuses to be ignored. Love can sit quietly in the corner, watching steady, patient, while desire takes the floor, naked, urgent, demanding attention. It's messy, it's human, it's the friction of two souls trying to be felt, even when everything else gets in the way. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's the only thing that is real, the only thing that cannot be replaced, the only thing that chooses you back. Again, really, really good, right? And I even started doing like a sexy voice and felt like I was on one of them chat lines. But, you know, it's a really good poem. Chapter 8, only a couple more, right? So please don't leave. Don't leave. Please don't leave. Chapter 8, built in chaos, fueled by love. In the quiet before the dawn, when the house hums low and worn, little hands reach, little voices call, and the weight of love holds us all. Sleep is stolen, patience thin. Every storm carries a spark within. A tantrum, a spill, a tear on the floor. Still we rise and love even more. We break, we fall, we falter, we sway, yet we rebuild in our own imperfect way. Every I'm sorry, every hug we give shapes the lives we hope they'll live. The world intrudes, the chaos swirls, but love becomes our quiet refuge. Through sleepless nights and endless days, we find strength in small, ordinary ways. For children mirror and we reflect every word, every action, every effect. And in that dance of patience and grace, we grow as they grow. We found our place. Not perfection, not control, not fame, but steady presence, love without shame. Built in chaos, fueled by fire, parenthood lifts us higher and higher. Chapter 9, which was the last one. Hustler's ambition. I remember the days when nothing felt certain, when dreams sat quietly behind a closed curtain, when money was tight and hope felt thin, but something inside said, don't give in. That voice was quiet but steady and clear. It whispered through doubt and shouted through fear. It said the road would be long and the nights would be cold, but the fire inside you is stronger than gold. So we grind in the dark while the world sleeps sound, building something from the broken ground. Every setback, every scar, every lesson we learn adds another log to the fire that burns. But ambition is heavy if you carry it wrong, if the chase becomes endless and the nights grow too long, because success without meaning can hollow your soul, leaving ambition in charge but never in control. So hustle with purpose, not hunger alone. Build something real, something that's grown. Not just wealth that fades when the years pass by, but a life worth living before the day that we die. So thank you. Hopefully you like them poets. Hopefully you like them poems that I wrote, and they came from the heart. And they got better as, and I got through it. And not all poetry needs to rhyme. Not every poetry needs to flow a certain way. Poetries to me are stories, and it's how you relay that story out there. So people like my podcast. It's the way you bring it across. So hopefully this episode has been okay. It's been a little bit different. I wanted to do the last episode as an overview and discuss what I'm doing in my life and where I'm going in my next chapter of my book. And the good thing with chapters and with life is that there is always another chapter and there's always another step forward to get to where you need to get to. And if that's the end of the book or just the Lord of the Rings, it just keeps going and going and going. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today. And the way I'm going to end today, I'm going to end you with the poem that I wrote on the 28th of April when I had some spare time. And it was something that came into my mind that this is how I'm going to end the book for season 1 or volume 1 of the book. And this is how I'm going to end it. And so thanks again for coming through today to watch and listen to my podcast. This has been Loss, Love, and all the other shit in between. So peace out, love, always. All right, so here we go. Thank you. Chapter 10, The Journey, Part 1. The Journey, Part 1, Loss. The road began in silence, not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind, where everything you knew felt distant and every step forward felt misaligned. I walked through shadows I didn't choose, carrying weight I couldn't explain, learning how to stand in storms that carved their names in pain. Loss didn't knock, it broke the door, took pieces I thought were mine to keep, left echoes in the quiet moments and lessons buried deep. But somewhere between the breaking and the fall, between the nights that felt too long, I found something I didn't expect, a strength that had been there all along. Not loud, not proud, not easy to see, but steady enough to carry me through. Because even in loss, in the darkest space, I was becoming someone new. 2, love. Then came love, not soft, not simple, but powerful enough to shift my ground. A feeling that made the chaos quiet, a connection that felt deeply found. I opened up in ways I hadn't before, dropped the armor I wore like skin. Because love doesn't live behind walls, it begins where you let someone in. I took off my bulletproof vest to hug you tighter, to feel something real, to finally trust. And in that moment, you shot my heart, not to break it, but to make it yours as a must. You didn't wound me, you reached me, past the guard I refused to lower. You didn't take something from me, you showed me I could give it over. And that's the part they don't explain. Love isn't safe, it's brave, it's true. Because the strongest flex I ever did was let my wall down and fall for you. And then the final part is journey. And that's everything in between. Now I stand somewhere in between, not who I was, not fully who I'll be, on the road that doesn't promise answers, but finally feels like it belongs to me. This part of the journey is different, less about surviving, more about growth, learning to balance ambition and peace, carrying fire but holding it close. There's a pull towards something greater, a future I can't fully see. But for the first time in a long time, the unknown doesn't intimidate me. It excites me. It challenges me. It calls me to rise, not hide, to step forward without all the answers, but belief as my guide. Because fulfillment isn't a destination. It's built in the steps we take, in the risks we face with open eyes, in the life we choose to create. So I walk this road with purpose now for everything that lies ahead, not afraid of the weight of the journey because I've already faced what I once feared. Loss shaped me, love changed me, and everything in between is where I rise. Thank you. Love.